Hello there, I'm Mia Gradney alongside Ron Trevino. We start with the rising death toll in this disaster.
Governor Abbott getting a first-hand look at the devastation in Kirk County today, taking an aerial tour of the flood zone. During a briefing, he announced 109 lives have been lost. That grim mark now surpassing the death toll from Hurricane Harvey when it hit Texas.
And it is hard to believe, but it could get even worse. The governor says 161 people are still unaccounted for.
The job right now, the primary job right now, continues to be locating everybody who was affected by this flood. There still remain those who are missing. We have to find every single person who's missing.
And right now at 6 o'clock, we have team coverage from the Hill Country to here in Houston, covering all the angles of this tragic story.
And we start with the dedicated first responders in the flood zone.
Tonight, we are showing you what it's like firsthand, riding along with them for several hours today. Jacob Rascone is live in the town of Ingram, that's in Kirk County. Jacob, you spent the day out in the flood zone.
When I told officials here about the governor's comment about 161 still unaccounted for, 2 of them started weeping. This is their life right now. They're not here right now. They're out working, but this is the command center. There are a few in there with maps and photos of the missing. There are thousands in total. Right here, this is the command center for one of the largest search areas, and they never stop.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. All right, you bet. Thank you all.
Scores of new searchers sign up every day.
And we're working both ways.
The Ingram Fire Department and 700 helpers cover 70 square miles.
Doing everything they absolutely can to bring the missing family members home.
The massive operation led by Chief Diana Backus.
I worked the Comfort flood in 1987.
In 5 decades on the job, this is the worst thing Chief Diana's ever seen.
I saw RVs being slammed up against trees and literally exploding. I saw children floating in the water begging for help that we could not reach. And that takes it out of you.
Are you okay?
I can't say I'm okay, but I'm going to do my job.
This was underwater and there was a car floating.
Retired firefighter Tammy Landon, one of countless tireless volunteers.
At the time, you deal with it. Later on, it's going to hit everybody. I was born and raised here. Pretty bad.
It is organized chaos with growing impressive resources, including the helicopters like these. We've also seen boats, ATVs, dogs, horses, and other equipment. Also impressive, the donations that are pouring in. These never stop, and these are for anyone who needs them, including the hundreds of volunteers. I want to note something the governor said about not leaving until everybody is found. The chief we talked to was here in 1987 when 10 teenagers went missing. They searched for them for 2 weeks. They found all but one, John Bankston Jr. Live in Ingram, I'm Jacob Rascone. Back to you.
We'll take it from there. Thank you, Jacob. One Houston family has learned the devastating news their daughter did not survive. Sinclair Elementary's PTO said Greta Torzano, who was at Camp Mystic, died in the Hill Country floods.
Tonight, Troy Pless is live at Sinclair Elementary, where tributes continue to pour in. Troy.
Yeah, that's right, Ron. So behind me, you may see some of the flowers that have been here as early as Monday with hopes that Greta would have been found. But if you are in this Timber Grove neighborhood, you've likely seen many tributes like what we're about to show you. Down the sidewalk here, you can see blue ribbons for Greta's favorite color tied around these trees and many others here. And we can see that the pain is felt by even total strangers to them.
Losing a child's the worst thing that could probably ever happen to you, and in this way is even worse to me.
To Tracy Claus, she says she knows the pain.
In 2007, I had a son that was killed in a car accident.
Her mind is now on the many victims lost in the Hill Country floods.
I know, it's tragic. It is.
Claus and her friend Taryn Webb at Sinclair Elementary leaving one of many tributes. This past weekend, Webb says her kids noticed the neighborhood rallying around the Toronto family.
Past a table 2 houses down and thought the little girls were selling lemonade, and they were actually raising money selling these bracelets for Greta.
This morning, the school's PTO sharing the devastating news. The organization is offering support to students who need it, also encouraging people to keep sharing messages with Greta's family. Why do you feel something like this is important?
I think it shows the family that there's people out there praying for them, knowing I have people that care about me,
And
whether I know them or
strangers.
not, and strangers, you know, that don't even know me. I just think that support it will help them carry themselves through this tragic event.
And at the school earlier today, according to the PTO, there was a school resource officer and therapy dog on site for people that needed it. And the PTO is still encouraging people to come by here and leave messages for Greta's family. Reporting live in Timber Grove, Troy Kless, KHOU 11 News.
Camp Mystic was, quote, a ticking time bomb.
That's according to a meteorologist who spent 3 decades with the National Weather Service. He spoke with investigative reporter Jeremy Rogowski, who joins us now with more of that candid conversation. Jeremy.
Ron, when it comes to storm predictions and warnings, Jeff Evans is a heavyweight. After a 34-year National Weather Service career, he says the deadly flooding along the Guadalupe River was sadly inevitable.
It was a ticking time bomb, Camp Mystic,
Why do you say that?
because it was bound to happen.
Jeff Evans has spent his adult life predicting severe weather and protecting those in its path. He bluntly says building camps along the Guadalupe just doesn't make sense.
The terrain and the way those creeks converged, it was just a matter of time to what happened on the 4th of July has happened.
At Camp Mystic, time reveals the risk. These headlines of flood damage date back to 1932. And as recently as last year, Kerr County's Hazard Mitigation Plan predicted that jurisdictions will experience a flood event in the next year. Evans says for any community, the challenge is getting the risk to resonate.
The agency, the National Weather Service, has been looking at this for decades. How do we get people to understand and then take proper action?
On July 4th, Evans believes the National Weather Service warnings were timely and should have been effective for evacuations, which leads to the question many are asking.
What plans and protocols were in place and should have been in place, and then were those protocols followed? I don't know what they did and the timeline. That will come with time.
Youth camps in Texas are required to have disaster protocols. We obtained state inspection reports for Camp Mystic for the past 5 years, which show it did have a required emergency plan. But the state does not keep copies of those plans on file. Now, we've also been digging into how Kerr County alerted residents of flood dangers, and we searched a FEMA database that tracks public alerts. Get this, Kerr County guys did not send out any alerts on July 4th. In fact, records show it didn't use its code red alert system for evacuations until July 6, 2 days after the raging river swept so many away.
It raises so many questions surrounding this disaster and tragedy. We know you'll stay on top of it all.
Thank you so much, Jeremy.
You bet.